Hey guys, what's up? It's BigJackFilms here, and welcome to the first ever commentary for one of our episodes from the Big Jack Film Reviews. I figured I'd start with one that is pretty easy to do and discuss, and that is the Skull Island Reign of Kong review from last year. And this was something I've been wanting to talk about for a while, so I figured I'd give you guys a little bit of a behind-the-scenes info of what went on during the making of this episode. So basically, when I first did this episode, I actually wrote it basically at the time the ride just opened, because I wasn't there for the opening, obviously, but I eventually got to see it in January of 2016. So as I was filming the episode, I did eventually get to experience the ride while doing the episode. I love this joke here because, like, all the classic rides are essentially gone, and it's a real shame because a lot of these don't really, I don't understand why they took them out. I thought this was an interesting joke with doing the ending to Kong 33, but it involves the ride itself dying and not Kong himself. Also, at the time, the Jimmy Fallon attraction wasn't open, so I didn't get to see it, but I was just still complex of how this can get a ride, and why they closed down Twister. I just don't understand. So that's just some basic green screen work there of me filming myself, and then myself later as a police officer, which I love that police officer character. I might keep him as a recurring guy. So yeah, I wrote this episode basically right when the ride opened, and this and the Back to the Future episode were all shot at the parks, and again, like when I did the Back to the Future episode, I wrote that on the ride down to Florida, because usually me and my family go to Florida in February to get away from all the cold here in Canada, and I usually make a stop at Universal Studios, so I basically wrote most of these episodes on the ride down to the parks, so that's usually how it happened. We've shot both of them simultaneously, as well as some other stuff that's coming in later on. Now, I love this, because, like, basically filming this stuff live at the park when it's opened is actually a little bit embarrassing, because you're afraid, like, people are gonna stare at you, but you gotta be more focused on what's on the camera and everything. So overall, I thought the ride was really phenomenal. I thought it was way better than 360 3D, mostly because it had animatronics and full-size sets. But I still love this ride. If I ever go back to Florida, I do want to ride it, of course, again. Now, yes, this was my first reaction and ride-through, and I got it all on film. And the reason I'm actually in the vehicle by myself is because I got to the park super early. I got there at like 6 in the morning and waited till like 9 for it to open. But even then, the only things that were open at the time were the Harry Potter attractions. So I would go chill at Harry Potter for an hour, and then once the rest of the park opened, I would run through Jurassic Park just to get to the ride first. So I was the first one there. I was the first one to just speed through the queue. I didn't care about anything. I just wanted to get on the ride. And I had the whole vehicle to myself, and this is honestly me having a blast, because this is incredible. So I filmed my whole reaction and everything. I was quite loud there too, because I was just in such an adrenaline rush to see this ride, and I thought it overall paid off really well. Now, most of the animatronic shots of Kong I took off a couple of other YouTube sites and everything, because I just didn't bother getting my own POV of the attraction, because there's plenty out there that are really good. But in this shot, I wish, honestly, I had some lighting on me, because I wish I flipped the screen forward so I could see what I was seeing. But overall, I'm fine with how this this first ride-through went out for me. I thought it was really fun. And I filmed all this stuff, like, right after I did the ride, so I took a couple notes of what my opinions were so I could put them into the script. And of course, we have Android 18, the recurring character of this show. It's funny how she came around, because, like, her first appearance was technically in the Felix the Cat review, as she was a cosplayer that I just asked to do a bit with. But her 18's first real big moment was with the Jaws, the Orca review, where she came to help me with the shark. And that got such a laugh that I decided to keep her in for later episodes. I love this shot, by the way. I thought that turned out really well. A shot like this, where you see the leaves moving, I would just be below, shaking the leaves, and on cue, I would get up and I had some debris on me that I would just wipe down. But anyway, so with 18, she was in the Orca review, and because that got such a good reception from people, I thought, you know what? I'll keep her in. I'll make her a recurring character, and she's been ever since, and we've got a lot of stories planned with all the characters and how they're all interacting with each other. Most of this footage was shot, like, after I did the Confrontation review, which was about a year or two prior, because, again, I would go on occasional trips to Orlando to get away from the cold. But anyway, so, yeah, this episode was really fun to write, really fun to put together. The audio, if you're wondering why it's a bit more echoey, it's mostly because I was doing the audio in the hotel room or place we were staying at Fort Lauderdale in the beaches there, and I had to use the bathroom because it was the quietest place to record. So that's why you get that kind of echoes, because I was recording most of my narration dialogue in the bathroom of our hotel. Now, if you guys are interested, I'll just point this out here. If you guys are interested in seeing any vintage confrontation stuff that's really rare, link below on the description to this commentary, and you can go to the Confrontation Group for the Eighth Wonder page, and it's a page I created where we share a lot of vintage videos and pictures of, like, the old rides and shit, so go check that out. This video bit of Jaws, this little clip, was actually from when the ride first launched and relaunched in 1994, and that was some of the best POV footage I've ever seen of the ride itself. Now, I did manage to try to keep the themes of what I was going for, of where to shoot stuff, so, like, this, obviously, because, again, the Jimmy Fallon ride, I don't understand it as a concept, but with, like, any time mentioning Confrontation, I would just go to the Revenge of the Mummy soundstage, because that's where Confrontation used to be, and I did a lot of stuff there, and I still, even though, like, Confrontation's gone, I still love the facade of the Mummy. I think it looks pretty good, and the ride itself is alright. Now, there's a deleted scene in this whole segment where we have this bit where we know that the ride is next to Jurassic Park, which is fitting, but then I make a joke how, like, oh, yes, I can only imagine what the concept meetings were like. So then we would have a scene where we would cut to the Popeye boat, and we would be on the ship's bridge, and we'd be spoofing the scene from the original Kong where Denham and Jack are having a conversation about the map and the island. But in this case, it's Jack and Denham discussing bringing Kong to Jurassic Park and this weird continuity between the films. And the original idea was to film all the background plates and then bring Brett Charles and Jake Robertson, who played Jack and Carl Denham in my remake of Kong, to come in to do this little funny gag cameo thing, and we'd film them on green screen and add them in the background. But unfortunately, I didn't get them in time to come in to do the cameos, so we had to cut that scene out. I don't mind the plot of this thing. I think it is a little overdone, because technically, well, it does make sense in the continuity of Peter Jackson's remake.
Where exactly does this take place in the timeline? Before or after the events of the film?
Well, if you do own the 2-disc special edition, or the more recent Ultimate edition, seriously, why is... By the way, if any of you guys want the best version of Peter Jackson's Kong right now, go get the Ultimate edition Blu-ray. It's got all the bonus features from previous versions. So, I'm trying to remember what else I wanted to talk about with this episode, but yeah, it was just fun to film on all the areas of the park and get what I needed, the coverage for the episode itself, because I kind of knew in my head how I wanted it to go down. It's interesting, because my buddy Bernard Kier, who works at the park, really nice guy, by the way, he's doing the score for our Kong, he, apparently while we were filming that day, there was also... They were filming a commercial for Universal Orlando Resort, and after I finished filming those days, I got a message from him saying, hey, it's funny, there's, apparently a lot of people shooting, the commercial were saying there's some kid walking around the set and everything, and that was me, because, like, I had no idea they were filming. I mean, I saw them filming, but I tried to, like, stay out of their path and everything, but I thought it was funny how, like, the crew of this commercial were thinking, like, what's this kid doing? Filming himself, talking to himself. Like, I don't understand it. And yeah, I do like to now use a lot of clips from previous Kong films to fill in, like, clip jokes, because I feel like they would... I'm starting to get used to that, and I actually think they work really well. But yeah, I'm surprised how well this ride worked on my first run-through, because it was just brand new. This footage here is actually from the 1990 version of Jaws, which failed completely, and that's why they had to refurbish it, and it didn't open back until 1994. But yeah, so it's just narrating this was fun. Editing it together was pretty easy, because, like, at that point, once I started editing this, which was, like, right after we left the park, I had pretty much finished most of the beginning of Season 3 with all the lost films wrapped up, and they were ready to go on YouTube, so I had plenty of time to work on this because this wasn't due until the next month. But yeah, so, and another thing too is, yes, I do use music from the ride because it's all available on YouTube, and I know a lot of people ask me when I did the Confrontation review that I had music from Confrontation. Yes, I do, but I cannot release that because it is a private file. I love this joke, by the way. Always a classic joke. But yeah, the animatronic, I remember, like, it's funny when I first saw this thing, when I shout, holy shit, that is huge, that's because I was actually genuinely scared of this thing. I was surprised how big this thing was. Like, this wasn't like a small little bus-size Kong. Like, this was like a massive, life-size version of this animal, and it's fantastic. And the people at the Creature Workshop who did the Walking with Dinosaur show really their job really paid off, and I really love how that animatronic is there. And again, my only complaint is that I wish it did have banana breath. And yes, guys, I know the Kong musical is coming to New York City. I am planning to make trips down there, and I will review that that musical as soon as possible once there's more footage and once I'm able to see it, because I do want to make that the season finale to Season 4. This rant coming up was all done for real, but the funny thing is, because this area is right near where everybody usually walks out of the ride, and I needed somewhere quiet to film this, so I found this little corner, and I just stuck the tripod there, and I did a couple of takes of ranting about it, but every few times, the fucking people would walk by and just stare at me, and then I'd feel like, oh my god, this is terrible. So I had to wait till it was clear to do that, so luckily I got a take with that. I do like that joke with Jeff Bridges going, ASSHOLES! But yeah, I really wish the banana breath was in there. That was my only complaint. And it's still, they could modify the animatronic to do that. It's not that hard, really. I mean, even on the skull, that'd be cool if they had banana breath. It's like, that would be like the skull of the original Confrontation robot. I think that would have been interesting if they had made that as kind of a joke. But honestly, even like the graphics on this one look a little more cheaper than 360 in Hollywood, because I just felt like the graphics looked a bit too much, a little cartoony compared to 360, because at least with 360, the CGI was done by Weta, and it was done by the actual effects company. This just felt like a little more, like the Spider Pit stuff is fine, but the stuff with like Kong and the T-Rex was just kind of meh. But yeah, I just keep rambling about stuff about this ride, because, I mean, overall, Reign of Kong is a great ride, Confrontation's a great ride. I really am happy that King Kong is back in Orlando, because I'm thinking it's about time. Now, if only we can get Jaws and Back to the Future there. And funny enough, with the fact that Disney now owns Fox, who knows how long the Simpsons ride is going to be there. So I'd say they would compromise and let the Simpsons go and put Back to the Future. I think that would actually really help them out. And especially saving money to giving, like, fees to Disney, because they own Fox now. This was obviously dubbed over because I couldn't shout that loud, so I would just match the words, and then I would go back and dub it over, because I just felt like I couldn't really yell at the park or whatever. And yeah, where the fuck is this thing? Where is this photo op boss? Because I'm looking everywhere for it. This is my biggest investigation right now. If anybody has any clues, let me know. And that's the thing, like, why isn't there a photo op of Kong? Because that would be really good for tourism and for people to come in and go on the ride, because they can take a photo with Kong. Look at Jurassic Park. You can do the same goddamn thing. It is a big complaint I have. And yes, I had the balls to take a selfie with Kong because I just wanted to, and it's funny because that was my second ride going through it, and I had a flash on, and everybody in the car was just like, "Ah, dude, why?" Yes, that is the exact spot where the photo op was, and I just photoshopped this really quickly, and I love that photo. It's my profile photo on most of my stuff. If any of you guys would like a version of that photo, if you want to take a photo with Kong, let me know and I can maybe make it for you. But yeah, I overall thought the ride was phenomenal. Now, this ending coming up, basically how it came around is because I had no way how to end this episode, so one of the things I just kind of threw out of the blue was just kind of like, 18's at the park with me. Why don't we just go have some fun at this park? Because it's funny because one of my biggest kind of things I've always wanted to do is like a vlog or something where I'm with a bunch of cosplayers, but they're cosplaying certain characters and they have to act like certain characters. And it's just me and them going around the park having fun and just seeing how many people stare. So that kind of concept spawned into this, but I do want to do that at some point as a vlog or whatever at a theme park, because there's a park near us called Canada's Wonderland. And a great park, by the way, but I think it'd be cool to cosplay there and just kind of like do a casual cosplay where you can get on rides with the costume. And it's funny how this came out with the photos, because I had apparently just, I have a editing thing on my software, Pinnacle, that does this photo thing. So I basically took all these photos from when I was at the park and just kind of like did some green screen shots and kind of modified them to make it look like official photos. And that's how it kind of came around. Now, the song that's played at the end is called Boys of Summer by, I forgot who the artist is, but he was with the Eagles. Great song, by the way, worth checking out. But yeah, that's about it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this commentary, and if you want more of these, comment below. Tell me which episode you want me to comment on. So until the next video, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys later. This is BigJackFilms, signing off.